Hey, Bobby Motor.
Hey, my name is Riley.
Hey everybody, this is Michael and you're listening to Speculo Live.
All right, welcome to Speculo Live, everybody. We're excited. This time we've got a special guest, Tyler Shields from Relevate, a high-performing coach in the ecosystem of Keller Williams. We're super blessed to have him. Obviously, a lot of you know him. And are very familiar with his teachings and his coachings. We were excited to ask him to come on board and just have a conversation with us around AI, around teaching, around coaching. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us, man. We're really, really grateful that you would take the time out of your busy schedule and your busy teams and your busy days and your busy coaching to be a part of this with us.
Well, I appreciate it. My pleasure. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, man. Why don't we dive right into, you could give us some background for those people that don't know you, maybe just start off with an introduction and give a little bit of your past and the successes that you've seen.
Yeah. Before I jumped into real estate, I actually worked at for 3 years. I worked at a national referral company, sending out referrals to agents, and then I worked at Zillow for a year, selling marketing to agents. So when I got my license in 2015, I stepped in with kind of this clear idea of how online and how tech can help grow a business. And when you sell leads at Zillow, the way you sell leads to agents is teach them how to convert them and talk to them about ROIs so that they'll buy more leads. And so I knew all about ROI and lead conversion before I was ever an agent, and eventually just decided I needed to be the one buying what I was selling. So I jumped in and started the team in 2015, the really clear plan to build. And at the end of 2015, so 2016, my first full year, I closed 37 transactions and then grew from there. That second full year, started growing the team and did 100 transactions. Then we grew to 200. Then it was this rapid 300, peaked at 4 million in GCI. And so really focused on growing the team. One of the unique things about our team is that we're an expansion team. So we're hubbed in Denver, Colorado, but we also have a location in Phoenix, Arizona. And so I've worked through all the challenges of how do you provide value to people not just hanging out around you, but someone in another state. So I've grown there, and then have a mortgage company now where we leverage a lot of the same principles. And then, like you mentioned, coaching and training out there as well. So that's kind of been the journey to here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you've achieved really remarkable success with Relevant Homes. And what were some of the pivotal moments or decisions that contributed to your team's growth and the performance that you saw? What were some of those pivotal?
Well, yeah. So, there's a lot, but I would say to highlight the major ones, I think really from the beginning that commitment to understanding how to scale. I think so many people don't really get the scale concept, which is you got to track so that correlation becomes causation, and then you have to use that causation to grow. And so I was committed to tracking my numbers, and every time I had a closing, I increased my marketing, increased my spend, and pretty quickly I had more leads than I could handle, and that's how I grew the team. And so I think first was really understanding and being committed to scale. And then I think there was a second moment. Second moment obviously is the decision to expand. The decision to expand is us going, when you figure out how to add value to someone that's not sitting in the office with you, your value increases dramatically. And so learning how to leverage, tech stacks and systems and processes and virtual trainings and things to still provide value to agents leveled up our value a ton. And then I would say maybe the third would be, there was this pivotal moment where I really was struggling with this thought that I now know to be a lie, which is that people and profit are always in conflict. And as a business owner, you can choose one or the other. You could choose to care about people or you could choose profit, but you can't choose both. For some reason, I had that lie in my head. And what happens as a business owner is, if you believe that to be true, oftentimes that means you just give your agents great splits and you let them keep all the money. But the problem is I didn't have any money left over to actually care for them and do what they wanted me to do. And I realized actually the way that everyone wins on a team is that the agent gives me 50%, and then I go turn that dollar into 10 more dollars, and we're each going to have more money at the end of the day. So that was another pivotal moment for me to understand how, learn what my model is, and then how to use that to be in the best interest of people, not the opposite. So a million more things along the way, but I think those are some of the more pivotal moments.
That's awesome. There's two things there that I hear as you kind of describe your journey. Number one is your individual agent ecosystem, grew, you were getting more transactions, you were getting more done. You always had an awareness of some of this is not just going in my bank account. Like a traditional agent, when they're starting out, is well, first of all, a lot of them forget to even put money away for taxes. Yeah. So you had this mindset of like, yes, and I'm going to take a chunk of this, and while it'd be great in my bank account, I'm going to spend it on marketing, right? And usually things like that are an afterthought, whether it's marketing tools or lead gen tools or whatever to grow your business consistently, right? Because I'm sure it's either that or get on the phone or do old school farming or start knocking on doors. But you had the foresight to say, not all of this money, even though it's my money, is going to go to my bank account. It's going to go to future opportunities and growth. That's great. And then even from that,
it's funny the cyclical nature of like bringing people into your business. Like you realize you want to scale, so you bring people into your business, and then because you have more mouths to feed, it necessitates you to scale in order to feed those mouths, and then it cycles into itself.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's funny you say that too, because I was talking to a mentor of mine yesterday, and we were talking about flywheels, right? I don't know if you're familiar with the flywheel concept, and those that aren't, but the idea that each piece of your business touches the next thing to then go back to the top of your business, and you just continue to do it on repeat, right? So, you're getting a transaction, that money's going to marketing, that marketing goes to leads, those leads go to closes, those closes go to another transaction, right? Yeah. So, excuse me, that's great. Yeah. And then, to piggyback off of that, so you had that as an individual agent, and then you just mentioned as a team, you could easily just like spend that money on, to do or use that money in a different split ecosystem to just give the money out to your agents. But instead, you're like, you know what? I'm going to use this and then invest it into the leads, because that's what agents want. They, you can either give a man a fish or you can teach them how to fish, and then they can feed themselves for life. And you chose that option. I think that's smart. It sounds like one choice when you were an individual agent led into a great leadership choice when you started to run your business on a larger scale.
Yeah. I mean, and this maybe is somewhat of a controversial take, but I'm going to say it anyways, which is I got really clear on, am I a team or am I a brokerage? Because they operate with different business models. And there's a lot of teams trying to be brokerages and a lot of brokerages trying to be teams. But I got really clear, like I let myself choose. Am I going to be a brokerage or a team? And I chose team. And so what I knew by team was, well, if I'm team, then I'm going to provide a depth of value. And the only way I can provide a depth of value and operate in a dependent model where I take most of the process off their plate is I'm going to need to charge them 50% or else I'm not going to have the money to be able to do that. But they're going to want to give me that money, because then that's what affords me to do the things they want me to do for them. So, and if I was brokerage, it would look different. It would probably be a lot lighter splits, and it would be more like, here's a bunch of tools, good luck, go use them. And so I think both are out there, but I got clear on who I wanted to be.
I love that. Great. Well, I think that's a perfect intro. You just did a great job describing who you are, why you're here, and everything you highlighted is exactly why we wanted to connect you with this whole thing. We're big fans of yours. And I think, the next question I do have is like, so, you also have a coaching ecosystem that you're very fluid in, right? So you engage with a lot of leaders, a lot of agents, top performing people in the industry. And obviously this is an AI conversation, right? We're bringing in top leaders to talk about artificial intelligence and how they're seeing it in the industry. So tell me about this. So in today's tech-driven market, how do you see AI transforming the real estate landscape? And how have you incorporated tools like AI tools into your business model?
Yeah, I think that we tend to get it wrong a lot in real estate. You hear the phrase a lot, we have a lead generation problem. And I think maybe there is some truth to that for some agents, but I think we have a lead conversion problem. And like, I just think specifically, like even like in the Keller Williams ecosystem, they spend a lot of time talking about, how now you can run Facebook ads through command and all that. And they had me talking a lot about how to run those ads, but I kept like coming to them and saying, your problem's not going to be agents generating the leads. They're going to have all these leads and they're going to not know how to convert them or not be committed to converting them. Even if they know how, the simple, consistent, committed to the consistency, hard work is hard. So I think AI absolutely can transform the landscape of lead conversion and how we level that up. It's going to allow more agents to interact with leads further down in the funnel, or at least have support and making the touches that they should be making. It's a way to guarantee that you aren't failing in the follow-up process. And if you guarantee that all the touches are going to be made because AI is making it, not just you, or they're supporting you in making it, then you're going to make sure that your conversion is what it needs to be, and you're going to close more deals. And then now all of a sudden you had plenty of leads. You just weren't converting them, right? And if you're converting leads, you're going to be motivated to go generate more. Like, it's what happens. I think where it's not being used nearly as much is in the lead conversion. I feel like everyone is like using it for write their descriptions or something, but that's like the baseline. Like, I downloaded the app and I asked it to write a description. I think that next level is, how is it helping me with lead conversion?
Yeah, I think that's great. It's funny. I remember sitting in an education session at KWRI, and Gary was talking about how he met with a top group of leaders. It was a top team, and he took the time to meet with them. They'd asked to meet just to understand why their business wasn't doing well, and he just had a session where they, all right, well, let's take a look at your leads and let's take a look at your agents, and one of the communications they gave to him was like, the leads are bad. These leads are no good, and he gave them the challenge. He said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take these leads and I want you, the leader, to go into them and call them the same way that you train these agents to, right? You may have heard him talk about this before. And he said he gave them a determined amount of time to do so. And they came back to him after that time was up, and they realized, we don't have a lead problem. The leads are fine. We have an agent and a coaching problem. And so, that's a tale as old as time, right? That is in the real estate world where getting leads is great, but getting agents and getting conversions is the biggest thing. So I agree with you. I think that's a place that people just aren't utilizing AI enough, right? I mean, we say this all the time. You still should have your agents engaging and making phone calls and doing those trainings and getting to a point where they're becoming familiar with the dialogue of speaking to leads and clients and customers and becoming market experts. But also, there's a scalability factor. If you've got a 10,000 person database and only 4 agents, it's obviously going to be damn near impossible for you to get through those 10,000 contacts in a time where you can still stay top of mind and convert them in that year. So utilizing an AI platform allows you to create scalability that allows those conversations to happen and gets them into the ecosystem or of these agents on your team so that they can start having those conversations and getting the appointments set.
Yeah. I'm stealing this from Jason Abrams, but I believe it to be absolutely true, which is technology should make you more human, not less human, right? And so like when you leverage AI, it helps me to follow up at the level that I wish I could follow up because I at my core, I believe I'm in that client's best interest, but I just fail in my busyness or in whatever, in my laziness, whatever it is, to actually follow up with them to do what I really want to be doing. And so technology helps to make me more of who I am, not less. Like I use automated AI, not AI, but I use like automated API connections to automatically notify me every time an agent gets a deal under contract so I can follow up with them and say, hey, congratulations. But if I didn't have the automations, then I'd forget and I wouldn't encourage them at the level I want to encourage them. So it's technology should make you more who you are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. People don't think of it that way. They don't think of like, how can I use, they see it as this is going to, and that's the fear mongering part that we really want to rip through with what we're doing, whether through this podcast or panels or whatever is like, don't look at it as it's going to replace me as an agent. It's going to replace real estate agents. Look at it as this is going to help me to become scalable and bigger, right? This is going to allow me the hours in my day to be more laser focused on, you just touched on something right there, a cultural aspect. Thinking of AI as a way for you to culturally engage with your agents more fluidly. What a great thing to do, right? And so not being afraid to implement that into your business so that then you can add that human touch. I think that's smart. That's super smart.
Yeah. I talk a lot like when I'm training about this concept. I'm pretty sure this came from Gary, but this idea of physically based, digitally enhanced. And it's like as agents, we are face to face, but if we refuse to become digitally enhanced, technology enhanced by AI, then we might lose out to those that are digitally based and then trying to become physically enhanced. So we can't just say, no, this is a face to face business, so it is what it is. We could be physically based, but then enhance that with automation, with AI, with technology.
Yeah, love that. Let's talk about training and development. So there are obviously crucial components in real estate, and that's a big part of what you do and why you're so successful. So how do you approach coaching your agents, and tell me some strategies that are the most effective in elevating performance? And then I want to kind of add another piece to it is like, where do you see AI coming into that from a coaching perspective? So again, how do you approach coaching your agents, and what strategies have proven most effective in elevating their performance?
So the approach I take to training agents is what I call a pain-based training approach. So when someone's going to absorb something is when they most care about it because they need it, right? And so I think too often we take this training approach of let me just teach you everything and then go. And so I like to tell my agents like, the only thing you need to know how to do is how to work the buttons on the CRM and how to set appointments for yourself. Because if you don't have any appointments, that's all you need to know how to do. And then once you have an appointment, give me a call and say, oh crap, how do I do an appointment? And then I'll teach you how to do an appointment. That's that pain-based training approach. And I could walk them through how to do an appointment on day one, but they're going to call me back again and say, could you remind me how I do that appointment?
Yeah, of course. It's game time. How do I do this now?
Totally, right? So I tell them like it's this pain-based training approach. And I think that's where a lot of people fail in real estate, because like it's so easy to be really busy at all the busyness of running a real estate business and not doing the thing that matters most. And so I try to really put them out on an island and go, I've only taught you one thing. That's how to call leads and set appointments. So there's no way you could keep yourself busy doing other things. You only know how to do one thing, and that's that. So you got to get to it, right?
Love that.
So that's that aspect. I would say motivating them and pushing them. But what I've realized with motivation, a lot of people treat motivation like adrenaline. Like they treat it like, we're going to watch a video, we're going to really get pumped up, and then we're going to go. And that's not true motivation. That's adrenaline. And the problem with adrenaline is you crash whenever your high is done, and you're worse off than when you started. And so I always like to say true motivation is having a goal that matters and reminding yourself of that goal and why it matters, ideally to more than just yourself. So even starting in our interview process, every agent knows what their 3 to 5 year targets are, why they matter to them. And then when I'm drawing a connection to make those 100 dials today, it's because if you don't get that future thing, and you're stealing that future reality from the others that's going to matter to. And so it's just like motivation really is just reminding them consistently of their goals and why they matter to them and drawing them back to that. But then it's my job to draw a really clear path from where they want to be in 3 years to what they need to do today. And so like, I'm going to make it really clear what you need to do. And we always like to say at Relevate, like, you're never going to be left wondering what to do. It's just going to be whether you're willing to do it. And that's my job as a team owner, to make sure they are not left knowing what to do. And it's the agent's job to figure out whether they're willing to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I mean, what's the phrase? Consistency beats motivation every time. Right. And it's the Kobe Bryant's, Michael Jordan's, et cetera, the last one to leave the gym, the one that'll shoot 1,000 shots a day so that they can, miss so many championship shots in their career, but still hit the ones that matter a lot of the time. And I agree. I think that from a leadership perspective, you can pump people up. You can do all of that on a regular basis. You can go in with a loud music, and like most tech companies I've been a part of, that's the culture to keep people distracted and pumped up and get them moving. But consistency beats that. And I think, like you said, it's your job as a leader to show up. And I think that consistent showing up is what helps them to see as a good model of execution. What does it mean to be consistently there and consistently execute? So tell me how you think AI can play into your coaching ecosystem now.
Yeah, well, so I mean, there's a lot of different use cases, but what I was thinking about, we talked about the follow-up system, and I think that's easy. Technology can help you stay top of mind with more people. It can help you follow up with more people. But another concept I was thinking of that I think has been really helpful is we really like to operate within this ecosystem that's called Working Genius, which is a book written by Patrick Lencioni. But it talks about all leaders have different giftings, and for some, your gifting is invention and you're great at coming up with ideas. For others, you're terrible at that. Others, your gifting is discernment. For others, you're terrible at deciding what's the right thing. And so I realize I like to oftentimes use artificial intelligence to fill in where I'm weak. And so like, I'm not invention. I'm terrible at coming up with ideas. I'm okay at discernment, really good at getting people excited about ideas. So I lean on AI to fill in where I'm not good. It's like, hey, give me 10 ideas for XYZ, because I just can't with a blank whiteboard, can't do it. But I don't need them to help me discern the right idea or go get people excited, because I'm good at that. And so I think AI, another positive use case in that coaching environment, is just how it's supporting in those ways, giving me extra ideas, helping me with discernment, helping me in areas that I'm weak to like round me out, So
yeah, I love that. So you mentioned before you've got teams in Denver and in Arizona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell me, it can be really difficult to manage teams, expansion teams in different markets. It can be really challenging. So how do you ensure consistency in how you're working with your agents and your teams, and keeping that culture as well between when you're spread out so far, right? Tell me about that. What do you do?
So, okay, couple things there. I think number one, culture is the sum of the people you hire, right? Culture really, really is the who. And so you hire to maintain and increase the culture. You hire the who, right? You test the willingness and you teach the how. So you hire the who, you test the willingness, and you teach the how. And so first of all, you got to maintain the culture by being really, really choosy about who you bring on. And it's primarily culture. Like, do you match our core values? Are you a jerk or are you not a jerk, basically? And so we're really protecting that. I think then secondarily, so not only are the agents that we're hiring are people that are just embracing our culture naturally because they share our core values, but the leaders we hire especially embrace that such that I don't need to be the one delivering my culture to them. I hired someone who is my culture, and so they're going to naturally think in those ways. I hire leaders who are servant leaders, and so they're coming to me saying, "Hey, we should do a book study on Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek." And I'm like, "That's a great idea. That's exactly what I would have thought if I could have thought of it." But you're suggesting it because your culture and your own culture. So that's part of it. The accountability piece, what we found to be most helpful is we use stand-up meetings for our whole team 2 times a week where every agent hops on Zoom and they say, "Here's my goal for the month. Here's where I'm at so far. Here's my goal for the day, and here's how I did on my goal last time." And every agent is accountable in front of everybody, and it does 2 things. One, it does 3 things maybe. It holds them accountable to track their numbers in our system so that their numbers are accurate. 2, it holds them accountable in front of everybody for them to actually do what they said they were going to do. And 3, it reveals to all the leaders where we need to jump in and help if they haven't reached out because I see they're failing to get an appointment so far or whatever. So that's really helped us to provide that common culture because we're all together, not just one branch, but everybody. And it's that accountability. And me as the leader, I'm seeing everyone. And then the final step I'll say about that consistency is onboarding is centralized. So we're not playing the game of telephone. It's not I taught this person who taught this person who taught this person. It's I am actively involved in onboarding, and I will be as long as I'm able to be because as like act like a small company until you have to act like a big company. And a lot of people act like a big company before they need to. And so people might think it's weird. I'm the CEO, I'm the owner, and I do the new agent onboarding, but I'm going to do that as long as I can. So every agent is taught the exact same thing. Right. And then when we can't do that, we'll expand from that.
Love that. So tell me then, so all of this you just touched on it's super powerful. And if you're running like an expansion team, those are great like snippets. I love that you broke it down into those 3. I think that makes a lot of sense because it touches a lot of accountability within the chain, not only from being in the trenches, but all the way up to your leaders in charge. So tell me, how do you use AI? How are you using AI to manage these teams and keep that cultural impact?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, really the 2 ways that I think AI are helping us a ton is specifically through like the lead conversion and lead follow-up process. But what happens there is AI, it helps you to hold the agents accountable to what they're supposed to be doing. Because I got this AI callbot calling the pond, and they've generated 3 opportunities this week. So I don't know what you're saying about the fact that, there's not opportunities in there because they're generating them. But then also AI is helping you make sure that there is consistency and consistent execution in your system as you scale. Like I can teach that I want you to call 5 times and follow up 5 times and do that. But ultimately, as you scale, even if you hire the best people with the best intentions, they fail. And so what AI does then is it helps you stay consistent in your systems as you grow, because I can't do it over and over again like how I would. But so I think that's been our best use case really has been in the lead conversion and lead follow-up process, ensuring that there is accountability and consistency to those things. It continually keeps the agents encouraged. Oh, there are opportunities in there. And it helps our leaders know, hey, whether your agents do it or not, they're going to get support in these calls and these leads are going to be converted. And so, I mean, I think that's probably our primary use case. There's a lot that we do like other people in like I said, how I use it to help me with idea and discernment. And then how our other leaders do with that as well. We use it a lot from like an invention. Give us 5 ideas for this perspective so we can just choose.
Yeah. That's great. So then let's talk about looking ahead. So tell me, and it doesn't even have to just be about AI, but what trends or innovations do you think are going to shape the future of real estate? And let me know, how are you preparing your team to adapt to these innovative changes in that new world we're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 things I'm seeing a lot of recently. One, the one-stop shop sort of mentality or mindset, which is like I want to go to Rocket Mortgage, but then also get a Redfin agent or whatever, right? Like there's these acquisitions that are happening now, which is kind of pushing towards this one-stop shop. And so being aware of how we can be as the agent and as our team a centralized place to provide services for everything. And so that's why we have a mortgage company. That's why we have a title company, not just the mindset of how can I just monetize those things? But we opt out of things like JVs in lieu of us owning the actual thing because we want the control more than I care about the profit coming from it. I want the control of the process, And so I think that's one. I think the other is just what I said earlier. It's like there are digital companies trying to really take over the real estate landscape, but they know they need physical presence. And so we need to, as quickly as possible, be the physical presence that opts into the digital landscape so we can compete. And so I think it's just us knowing, like, how are we utilizing technology, AI, automation, so that we can make our agents as efficient and as good as possible, because it's just going to be necessary in order to compete. I think that's
great.
I think maybe the third I would just add is like team and expansion consolidation. I think that you're going to see more and more of like everyone's part of these 10 expansion networks, or these agents are moving towards teams. Like, I think more and more they're realizing, all right, if it's going to be this end to end, and if I need to be more efficient and more technology based, like I think you see agents moving more towards teams. So obviously I feel well positioned running a team to be the place where I can help people in their businesses. But I see that happening and has been happening for a while.
Yeah. Let's as we look to wrap it up, I want to ask you some questions here, and one last question. If for the people that are listening, tell me 3 things that you think that each person that's either a leader or an agent should be doing in their business now to stay on top of trends or innovations. And it can be AI connected. It doesn't have to be, but tell me 3 things that you think that an agent or a leader should really be focused on right now with regards to upcoming trends and innovations.
But like how they stay on top of those things?
Yeah.
I think you have to be constantly looking to learn, I think. And so for me, it really is like the way that I'm staying top of these trends is I'm going to the conferences, I'm going to the masterminds, I'm asking the questions, I'm coming in with an open mindset on what are you guys using and how does that look? And so I think we can get so used to, especially the bigger we build our business, that like that's not our thing or that's not our thing. And we also can be prone to shiny object syndrome and be the opposite of that. And it's just like we chase every new thing. And so I think we must balance both open to everything with discernment. And so I think I walk into every room going, there might be something here for me, but then I can't walk into every room going, there for sure is something here for me. And so I think really it's leaders got to be committed to going to the conferences, going to the trainings, plugging into the masterminds or the group trainings, the coaching. Hiring a coach is, especially a national, like respected coach, I think is so important, because you tend to underestimate that oftentimes what a coach is delivering to you is the sum of what they're hearing and all their clients across, and they tend to be some of the best at like knowing what's going on because they're seeing it firsthand in all their clients and then summarizing that. So I think hiring a coach is vital in that regard too. Just consistently getting in a room with others that are doing what you're doing or doing better, and then asking questions and hearing what they're struggling with, auditing, I think is how you do it.
Awesome. So find that mentorship or that coach that can help you stay on top of these things, because they're everywhere. Get in these rooms as well. Be at the conferences, ask the questions, go to the masterminds, and with an open mind if there may be something here and maybe not. And then just asking questions, right? I think that's a big thing. I think always staying curious is a really important way to stay innovative in your business, right? Not staying closed-minded is a great way for you to continually be maybe not on the forefront of innovation. You may not always be an early adopter, because I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to always be an early adopter, even when it comes to things like AI or social media. But, asking the questions so that when the time does come and it's right for your business, you know when to pull the trigger, because you're like, oh, this aligns with my core values or what my why is or whatever, what my goals are for the next 4 or 5 years.
Totally. Yeah.
That's great. Is there anything you want people to know? I mean, how about a plug for Relevate? Let's talk about that, or for the coaching. Is there any kind of classes, masterminds, anything you're running here coming up?
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest thing to plug, besides if you are an agent and want to be a part of our network, we always would love to talk with you. But the biggest thing to plug is I'm launching a 90-day group coaching program starting in July, specifically targeted towards teams and team owners. And I feel like there's kind of a vacuum of like specifically talking to the challenges of teams. And so we're going to talk specifically to the levels of value to provide as a team owner, how that's going to help you retain and recruit more talent. That's going to be limited to just 10 spots coming up in July. So if people have interest, they can reach out to me, but excited to launch that. It's going to be a cool, because it's going to be a group of people that are all at the exact same stage. So we'll talk together about the challenges and grow our value as team owners. So that's coming up in July. Super excited to talk about that.
Awesome, man. Love that. Well, listen, man, thank you so much. Honestly, I think that you are somebody that we need more of, that mentality of growth, right? And that open-mindedness to say, you don't have to try and eat the elephant whole with regards to any tech, but definitely, use it to scale your leadership, your business, and your culture. And you can do that through small spoonfuls at a time, right? But always, gaining support from a coach. And I think that that's really, really important. And then, not being afraid to attend the conferences, the seminars, the masterminds. And yeah, I think those are all super smart things. So grateful for your time, man. Really, really appreciate it, Tyler. And, we will do this again. I want to have you back in like 6 months and tell me what you're seeing and what you're experiencing, and just bring some more comments and consistency of coaching for our people that are listening. Appreciate you. Thank you very much, Tyler. I'm grateful.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.